Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Tone Talk with Mark Uzansky and Dave Friedman. Uh, Tonight is episode 170, and we've got an amazing guest, incredible guitar player, Mr. Blues. He's awesome. Philip Sayce. We're so honored to have him here. Philip, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. A pleasure and a privilege to be here with you gentlemen this evening.
Awesome. Yeah, same here. You and Dave are both in beautiful Los Angeles. How's that doing? If I may ask, any riots going on? Everything good?
Everything seems quiet. It's super warm and sunny and lovely.
I never even saw any riots. You know, it's interesting as when you're not near areas that happen like that, and I don't know if I'd necessarily call them riots either,
or protests or whatever.
Protests, maybe peaceful protests.
Generally. Yeah. Did you see any? No.
I was nowhere near anywhere near any of the areas that would have been in. You know.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when the person from out of state calls you, "Oh my God, are you okay?" What do you mean? Well, I saw there was a fire.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm fine. If the fire burns to my neighborhood, the world's ending. I'm in like North Hollywood in the middle of it. You know, like if it burns to the middle of the valley, no, it's not.
Well, you're just lucky. You're lucky. So, but Philip, so awesome to have you here, man. We have a mutual friend, Michael Nielsen. I want to thank Michael for hooking us up and having you on. I know Michael produced one of your albums.
Man, yeah. Do I love Michael Nielsen? What a superstar he is. Amazing guy, amazing friend.
Yeah, and he's right here, as a matter of fact. Michael Nielsen. Still have the Jose, more vids coming. Oh, cool.
Hi, Michael.
Send the Jose my way, Michael. You got it. You can just send it my way. So what's been going on with you, Philip? Have you been touring?
I have some shows coming up. We're going to British Columbia in a couple weeks. Something coming up in Oregon, Nevada, a few things. We're playing in town at the Baked Potato next weekend. So there's some things coming. We've been in the studio recording a new album. So pretty excited about that collection of songs, the way it's coming together. And otherwise, just, I put in a good 4 hours of practice every day. And when I'm at home, and always working on the tones, always working on the craft and writing. And when I get in the car, I make all kinds of weird animal noises to do my vocal exercises. So just, I'm a student of music. I'm always working at it and always hungry to learn more.
Yeah, well, that's the beauty of music, right?
Well, not only are you a ripping guitar player, you're a wonderful singer also, which is a lot of times don't go hand in hand.
Well, thank you. I'm working at it. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough thing. I mean, a lot of people, first of all, just to be able to sing and play at the same time, I think is just a huge gift, because that's really hard to do, at least from my vantage point, because I can't do it. So
I can't either.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's this thing, where you're like rubbing your, that whole thing at the same time. And sometimes you just have to simplify songs or simplify riffs because it's just not possible,
Yeah. Do you find that, when you're trying to perform stuff live as opposed to, recording albums?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, I think the beauty of playing live is that at least the way I approach music in a live setting is it never has to be the same way twice. So if there's a way that, especially in a trio format, if there's a way to make a song that in the studio might have multiple layers, trying to get that to work in a live setting, sometimes you can make an adjustment and it actually ends up being cooler. So I'm always open to making adjustments and making it different than what the studio recording was.
Right. Yeah.
I love the fact that, it doesn't have to be the same. I love that. It's such an old school thing that people don't do anymore. Now everyone's tied to tracks and tied to things, and it's just like, but I want to see it different every night.
Yeah,
I want to see that song slightly played different on night one from night three.
Right.
I totally hear you. I certainly some songs make sense to be, as they were in the studio, but other songs really do lend themselves to exploration and finding new avenues, particularly in a live setting. And all my favorite musicians that I admire and listen to, when you hear the live version, it's a treat. It's always like, oh man, that's so much more exciting than it was. It's what's going to happen next.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's what made. What's that?
So much of that is gone in today's music, I think.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Well, I just went to go see Pearl Jam, and they do a different set every night.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. And they, they were fully live. I didn't hear any tracks or anything. It was pretty amazing, and I was pretty impressed. I walked out of there like, okay, I just saw a real rock band. Like I felt
right.
It was really good. It was awesome.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, those guys are. I mean, what a catalog of songs they have to pull from as well. Like every night they can do a different set, and it's still every bit as good. Their songs are so brilliant. Yeah, great band.
No,
big time.
Phenomenal. So you had a. Sorry. No, go ahead.
I remember when they first came out. I remember I distinctly remember. I'll show my age now. When music changed, and I distinctly remember when they came out, and I'm like, who's this funny sounding singer?
Yeah.
At the time, I later learned to really like them. So it was an interesting time when the world changed in music. But so much great music came out of that time, and then like the 90s and stuff, like Soundgarden and things like that. And it's amazing.
So passionate, so powerful and passionate, and extremely memorable.
Yeah, definitely. Soundgarden was amazing. I mean, Chris Cornell, what a voice. Amazing voice.
Incomparable, amazing. I remember being in school at that time and just having started playing guitar, and at all the Battle of the Bands, everyone was playing either, it was either Nirvana or it was, the bands we were just talking about, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, and some of the others from that scene. And I remember the song that I was always most excited to play in the band that I was in was Alive, because it had this big long jam at the end for a guitar solo, and just keep going and
an E minor, you can just go soloing forever on that one.
Just great. Like that huge chorus, but the riff, I think, is, if I remember right, the riff's in A, the main riff, but love that song.
It's a killer song. Sure.
Cool.
So I was going to say, you had a big week, and Michael Nielsen just launched his video for your custom pickups from Seymour Duncan, which I'm going to show. Let me see if I can show this. Do you guys see that?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Sweetwater's got them. Oh, and they're aged too. That's cool. Oh, this is the limited edition set.
Lovely. Thanks for bringing those up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Yeah. Well, if you haven't seen the video, guys, go watch Michael Nielsen's video. Those single coils. If you're in the market for some single coils, it sure sounded good to me.
They sounded great.
Yeah. So I mean, and
definitely go to Sweetwater. Yeah, check them out. By the way, that reminds me. Check out Sweetwater in our link below, guys. We have an affiliate link, in that if you purchase using our link, we get a little kickback to the show and helps us keep the show going. So make sure you check that out and buy these pickups. Check them out, because this seems to be an exclusive for, I believe, Sweetwater. Maybe I'm wrong, but it says limited edition. So, and then also we've got two other companies. Let's see, we got Thomann. Make sure you guys check out our link for Thomann as well, and fixpedalboards.com.
For all your little pedalboard needs and lifters and interface boxes and fun stuff that I generally help Tim design.
That's awesome. I'm going to write that down. I'm going to check those guys out.
Yeah, there's like these cool little, they make these cool little metal lifts. So if you need a pedal lifted up at a certain size, a certain height and stuff, you can screw them down to your board and stuff, and they're cool. Yeah, I use them all the time in pedal board builds and stuff that I do here.
I think I had one on my pedal board.
Yeah, you did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know what? That sounds like a good idea. I was using like an Altoids tin or like a hockey puck or something to try to get height up.
Oh no, these got all the they have different heights and different sizes for different pedals. They even picture on the screen roughly the size or what pedal, it is and stuff. And they work really well. So
Awesome. Okay, look into that.
yeah, for sure. It's better than Altoid tins. Yeah.
Yeah, those get
stomping on it, and the pedal keeps getting lower. That's because the Altoid tin is flat.
Yes, it gets crushed, but it smells great. But yeah, otherwise, but it definitely does get crushed.
Yes.
Yeah, here's fixed pedal boards, just so you can see.
Very.
That's some of the little lifters, and then they have a little section of risers and
here are the pedal
junction
risers.
Boxes and things. Yeah, see, like different size heights and sizes and things like that. They kind of show a picture of a pedal that's roughly that size, so you kind of have an idea in your head.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty cool. All right. Thanks guys for the Tim and people over at Fixed Pedal Boards. All right, back to Philip. So tell us about your pickups. How did they come about? And tell us more about the story behind.
Yeah, were they derived from a particular set of pickups?
Yeah.
In your guitar, or?
Yeah, well, guys, thanks for setting it up so we can talk about them. I'm really delighted and super excited. The way they came out. It was a process of working with the team at Seymour Duncan, pretty much over the course of a year, going through different prototypes and sort of strategizing. And I have some guitars around me, but if I move, I'm going to end up pulling the phone down. So I'm not going to move too much. But they're out of my. I have a main guitar that I've had for a real long time that I named Mother a long time ago, and it's a '63 Strat. And in that guitar, the original '63 pickups I had for maybe the first 10 years I had the guitar, and then they went south at a certain point, and a friend of mine hooked me up with a set of 58s out of a 58 Strat, a hardtail. A friend of mine from Edmonton, Canada, named Brad Bowie. And so he goes, man, I got this amazing sounding set. Don't worry. So I got them in the guitar, and they were maybe even better than the first set that were in there, the 63s. Just have this real beautiful airy sound on the top end. This has a lot of late 50s Strats do. This kind of a lot of harmonic information, particularly in the high end. They're not super overwhelmed like they did become in the sort of mid 60s. And just have always loved them. They've been in there for many years now. And so the opportunity came up through my friend Mark DiLorenzo from Seymour Duncan. And we just had a conversation around, is this something maybe we want to do or not? And I'm very particular. I don't like to necessarily put my name on a bunch of gear. I rarely do this. I did do a set of pickups with a dear friend of mine, Joel Wilkins, during the pandemic. We made a short run of a very different sounding set of pickups during the pandemic. I think it was 2020 or 2021 we did it, 45 sets. And so I learned a lot in that experience working with Joel, wonderful human being and very talented guy. And so when this came up, I sort of, had a little bit of listening to pickups in a certain way. And we had some great conversations with the team at Seymour Duncan. A+ all the way. We went through a lot of prototypes. And if I had a question saying, that bridge pickup, let's try it a little hotter or something. And then so they would wind it up, and then I'd try it out and be like, no, that was too much. Let's go back. And they were just open to trying whatever until we got it right. And everybody on that team, I can't say enough good things about. It was a fun experience. We had a lot of laughs. And then we finally got it right. And that felt so good. And to see them come out was, again, a real honor. And I couldn't be happier with them.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I'm going to have to check them out. Yeah.
They're really cool. Michael had pointed out that how low power they are, or how weak they are. And it's sort of interesting when he said that. He wasn't saying they sound amazing is what he was saying, but they read weak. But they sound right. And there's an interesting thing. What gauge strings do you normally play?
I use it depends on the guitar and the fret size, because my main part of my really my technique is more string bending. So so I usually use a set of 11 to 54, or I'll use 10 to 54 depending on what the what the fret size is, and also just the feel of the guitar. You can have two of the same guitar, and one just is a little tighter than the other. So, but
Right.
for many years, I've used 11 to 54. For a long time, I did use even heavier than that, but there's only
but
one guy.
as you get older, it hurts.
Yeah.
You know what? It really does hurt. You can be really seriously injured. I mean, there's a lot of myth about the tone being in the string size. There's some in there, but really it comes down to what's coming out of your heart when you're hitting the guitar. And so,
Well, the interesting thing is, I mean, you know, you play, you know, that sort of Texas blues rock sort of Stevie Ray, you know, ish sort of playing that you do. I remember one time Alexander Dumble told me specifically he measured Stevie Ray's pickups in his main guitar. And they were all around 5.6, 5.7, somewhere down in that range, which I do believe your pickups are down in that range also. And I just when Michael said that, I go, this kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Well, the heavier strings is a darker, thicker tone always. And the weaker pickup is going to generally give you a brighter, you know, janglier tone, so to speak. And it really makes sense. It's a teeter-totter, like I always say with guitarists and stuff. It's like, you know, so if there's a guitar player that uses, I've said this before, uses an old Marshall and he wants to sound like Eddie Van Halen or something, I go, well, you got to make sure you have your string gauges right, because a set of 11s will never sound right through the amp. You know, his was 9 to 40 E flat. I mean, that was really light. And there's less bass response then, and you know, and it's always an interesting teeter-totter. And fret size, like you just mentioned too, you know, it's like, how can you get under the string, what gauge I'm using, what fret height, that, you know, that all matters. It's all a like teeter-totter kind of thing.
Yeah,
So,
all part of the equation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then combined with what speakers you're using, if you're using a 200 watt speakers versus a 30 watt speaker or whatever, and
Sure.
And also, you know, particular certain amps, if you come through, I don't need to tell you guys, but if we're coming through with solid state rectifier or what kind of, you know, all these little nuances that make a difference. And so it's sort of a combination of all of those pieces to try to get the glory tone.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So I understand you worked with Dumble, Philip. Can you tell us a little bit about that story?
Yeah, you know, Alexander was a really, really wonderful guy. You know, there's all kinds of myths and things on the internet, and, you know, like things that people say that never met him. And he was a really nice guy. I really enjoyed spending time with him, and went up to the old rancho a number of times, and he was real nice to me. And a lot of times, like, he was more interested in going out back and looking at the garden, showing me some strawberries and things. You know, it was really fun. And he did some work on Fuzz Face that I have. I left it with him for a short period of time, and one day he just sent me an email and said, it's ready, come get it. So and you know, we played through a bunch of different amps, and yeah, it was just, you know, I was a little nervous the first time I went over there. I wasn't sure what to expect. I'd heard stories of people buying him like a washer and dryer unit to get an amplifier, you know, what, all these things. And you know, when I got there, he was just a lovely, lovely, gentle guy, and we played some guitars together and played a whole array of different amps. He pulled out a steel string singer that I think he said that he built in the 70s. It was sort of almost a prototype of that. And that amp was insanely sound. It was a next level type of tone, and we got along right away. It was really good. You know, brought me guitars. He really liked them, and brought another Fuzz Face with me, and he, you know, was a silicone Fuzz Face 68. And we played it, and he just looked at me and goes, I'm not touching that one. That one's perfect. And he kind of gave the sign, you know, and he was, he was a great guy. It was certainly a big loss when he passed, and he certainly his inspiration lives on. He was a wonderful human.
Yeah, he was a good guy. I met him when I was, first time I met him was probably when I was 18 years old, and like around 1987, 88. And many times over the years, kind of lost touch with him towards the end, but many times over the years we would talk about things and he would tell me things. And this was before I was even doing amps and stuff,
Wow.
way before. And he could take a box of crappy parts and make it sound great. It's real. And I watched him do it, and it was very interesting. It's like, and how did you? What?
Yeah, totally inspiring. So
it was his ear. It was his ear. It was just his ear.
I almost felt like there was something going on too, where, and this is, I don't know. I don't know if I got the words how to express this, but I almost felt like he might have done some sort of like next level meditation with the equipment there, where there was some type of energy that he transmitted into whatever he was working on. It sounds a little bit outside, but really there was something going on that he was channeling that was able to. There was some next level things happening there. It was really very inspiring to be around him.
Yeah. That's interesting. That's cool.
His mods and stuff on Fenders are kind of legendary. I mean, I like the modded Fender stuff more than I liked his actual amp.
Is that right?
Overdrive specials weren't necessarily my kind of thing, but that's just me. It doesn't mean that it doesn't work for some people really well. And then every overdrive special was different.
I mean, all of them, right?
All of them. And because he tweaked them for the player that he was making it for.
Exactly.
So like the best one I ever heard belonged to Steve Ferris. Mm-hmm. But when Steve was on our show, we were like, he was saying he spent months with him tweaking it. Probably driving him crazy, but he spent months and months with him. And in the end, though, the amp did sound really good. I mean, for Steve to play it.
Right.
It's like, I'm going to play something, you're going to play something, another guitar player is going to play something. They're all going to sound different through whatever amp it is.
I mean, it's like going to a tailor and getting a suit made for you, and then somebody later down the road, somebody buying that suit and trying to wear it and say, well, it kind of fits, but it was made for somebody else. It was tailored to fit and suit somebody to the T. Yeah. And that was the experience too, working with Cesar Diaz, who was somebody that I got to know really well, and stayed at his house and slept on the couch there, and he was equal genius. Magic stuff that he did, and hilarious guy, and a real influence on me in a lot of ways. And his family, lovely people as well. His son, his wife, and he did a bunch of amps for me when I was out on the road, and I just remember I remember having a super reverb at his house, and we were in his shop, and he goes, okay, I'm going to do my super reverb thing. Like he goes, okay, I need you to play so I played for a little bit with him, and we were talking and playing, and he goes, okay, hold on. And he just kind of went in the chassis, did a few things, and he goes, okay, try it now. And the angels came out of the amp. It was like some crazy shit. I mean, it was really spooky. And then he built a number of pedals. He did, it was over the course of a couple of days, and it was a dual Showman that he did for me once. That was one of the best amps I've ever heard. 100, it was 100 watts, but and I used to run it through a couple of EVs. And I remember even at that time I was playing with Jeff Healy, and I remember Jeff, after I'd just gotten it back from Cesar, after the show, he said, "Man, what amp are you playing through?" Because it sounded so good. It was like this. It was perfect. So Cesar, and he just really, in his own way, but on an equal level with Alexander, was just, he was just a really special guy,
What I met him once. He seemed to be a lovely guy. I remember distinctly talking to him for a while.
That's awesome.
What era did you play with Jeff Healy?
I played with Jeff until 2001. So I started with him in 1997, and until 2001. Yeah, I just finished high school and had the opportunity. I was doing my own thing for about a year or so in Toronto, and Jeff was from Toronto, and yeah, I was playing at shows, and had just gotten my own recording deal, and working with a record company, and started doing things. And one night Jeff came out to a show, and I didn't know that he was there. But all my friends at the club started making a lot of noise after the songs. I was like, what's up? And then after the show, they said Jeff was here. He was checking your shit out. And I'm like, oh my God. Jeff is one of my, he's like, he's like a desert island guitarist for me. He's one of my all-time favorites. And then we met up shortly thereafter, and he invited me to join the band. And he just said, hey man, I want you to come. We're going to go on tour for, around the world for the next couple of years. And I want you to come be in the band. I want you to sing a couple songs every night, and we're going to jam. And once we stretch you out and work you in and teach you how to play on bigger stages, we're going to get you going on your career. How's that sound? And I just passed out. I was so excited. And he was amazing. He was a man of his word, and he threw me around the stage every night. I mean, he was a whole other level than I mean, he was. People like to throw the word around about great players, but this was a very different type of experience. Yeah, he was
I was
amazing.
fortunate. I was fortunate enough to see him. It must have been in the very early '90s. To see him play at the Coach House in San Juan Capistrano.
Oh, he must have tore that place down.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. So, and man, God, he was great. Jesus.
He was terrifying.
It was terrifyingly good. The best part is, he's playing so, unconventionally the way he played. But the best part is when he would stand up and then play the other way.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Like a regular guitar player, and flip it around. And then you're just sitting there like going, oh, you fucking do both? Come on.
Oh, you see, I never even knew that. I didn't know that he could do that.
Oh, yeah, man. You should watch some videos out there, man. It's amazing. He was amazing. I was fortunate enough in this genre to see Stevie Ray on his last tour. Oh, I saw with early in the tour when B.B. King was opening up, which is a whole nother great also, but a different style of great. And then I saw Jeff Healey and those are the two guys I'm very happy I got to see before they all passed. So,
I'm glad you got to see Jeff too. I didn't get to see Stevie Ray Vaughan, but I'm really glad that you got to see Jeff. And yeah, imagine a blind man. First of all, he's playing on his lap and your jaw's open, and then he jumps up and is playing over top, and then he would start playing this way, and then he'd put it behind his head, playing over top, and then he'd be playing with his teeth, and then rolling around on the floor, and then everybody was just going fucking nuts when he played. I mean, the heavens opened up when he played. It's a different thing. This is not a learned thing. This was like,
the interesting thing is like with yourself and Jeff and Stevie, you guys play with such what do I want to say? Intent, attitude, fire,
veracity.
You veracity. You're gonna strangle the living shit out of the guitar. And I don't know. Maybe Jeff taught you that. Because Jeff would do that too, and Stevie would do that too, and not anyone does that anymore. And I love that. I love the danger of it all too. Right on the edge.
I love you're talking about the danger, because to me, Jeff, again, I didn't see Stevie Ray Vaughan live. I did see Albert Collins live, and he was dangerous as fuck. Mm-hmm. And it was like that type of playing was what really resonated with me from day one when I was a kid. And I think hearing Jeff, you never knew what he was going to play. He could play anything, and he was a wonderful improviser. So I would spend the day in the hotel room trying to come up with some obscure, TV theme show that I would throw at him during a solo. And by the second or third note, he was already playing the third of it or the fifth, the harmony. He's like, try again, fool. He just had me swinging the whole time. And he was a great friend and a great mentor and the best teacher that I could ever ask for. And I always, instead of going to university, I went to the University of Jeff Healey, and that's really the way that I look at it. The way that he would dial in his amp, it was so loud and powerful, but he also had great dynamics and he had a great sense of humor. And when we would do shows, certain festivals in different places, maybe B.B. King, as you mentioned. And when we got there, Jeff would be there, and B.B. King would light up and be like, Jeff's here. And Jeff would sit with him, and you could see that there was just this love for Jeff from B.B., who is the greatest. And so, it was amazing. And then Jeff would sit in with B.B. or I remember just all these different opportunity. So I think being exposed to that and seeing Jeff, just what he was able to create every night, it was different. He played different every night. We played hundreds of shows, and he gave me a lot of room, and he taught me a lot. And I'm really, really, I carry him with me always. I love that guy.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
that's
awesome.
amazing. So how did you start playing guitar? I mean, obviously you got started young because you're out of high school and now you're touring with Jeff Healey. When did you start playing? Tell us, the background.
Yeah, I started late. I started when I was about 15 or so, 14, 15, 16, somewhere in there. I started late, and but my parents, I played piano for a really long time, and had played, classical Royal Conservatory piano, and then trombone for 10 years, and other things. But my love was always the guitar. My parents raised us, my brother and I, in the house, listening to everything like the Kinks and Stones, and obviously Beatles and Clapton, Jeff Beck. And then he would bring home like Albert Collins, and here's Stevie Ray Vaughan, and here's all of these Buddy Guy. Like, he really introduced me to all of this music. And so Ry Cooder, like, this was just the soundtrack of growing up. Mark Knopfler, and they really defined for me as well. Like, hey, listen to this. This is why Clapton is special. Do you hear how much that guitar, how melodious that is, how the vibrato, the way that he's playing. Okay, he's playing slow, but there's something special about that. There's a melody happening there. There's an intention. Listen to that. And so there's a lot of opportunity to hear this wonderful music that my parents really grew up on in the 60s in Britain, because they're from the UK. I was born in the UK, and so so I really got to, they played the best music at home, and I'm thankful for that. And that's how I got started. Eventually, I asked, can I have a guitar? And so I got like a broke ass cheap $90 acoustic guitar from Sears, and it, with strings like that high up, and and it was impossible to play, and that's, I think, the best way to learn. It's so hard to play that it sets you up for when you get a nicer guitar.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
Nice one. You're like, oh my God, it's so easy to play.
It's so much better. So much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, that's an awesome story about Jeff Healey and how he helped you with your career. Really cool stuff.
That's
Michael
amazing.
Nielsen told me that. Yeah, neither did I. Michael Nielsen mentioned that from the Cesar Diaz experience, that you have a killer little Princeton or something that he said that sounds like God.
Yeah, it's an amp that I've had about 10 years that I bought off a friend of mine who's from Seattle, and it was a Princeton. He built one of his CD 100s, which was like his flagship amplifier, that he used to build into Princetons. So it's a 64 Princeton, but it only has a pair. It's only got 2 power tubes, so it's not a 100-watt version. It's a 50-watt version, which is perfect. So it's kind of like a super reverb or something, and but it's in a single 12. It has a 12L EV12L in it, and it sounds great at living room volume. It sounds great cranked. I like to run it sometimes through a bigger cabinet, maybe with JBLs or things like that, and but it just sounds like the best super reverb that I've ever heard, kind of on about 6.5 or 7. It's well, I don't know what he did. Oh, I do know one thing. There's humongous transformers in it. So like 100-watt transformers, but 2 6L6s. So it's interesting.
Yeah, overloaded on the.
Well, if you ever want to document any of that stuff, I could always do that.
Thank you.
Like, just because like sometimes I feel like things can get lost over time, if there haven't been documented in some way, some shape or form, not to change it, not to do anything with it. It's just in case you wanted another one like it, or you wanted something similar to that, could it be replicated if you needed to,
Totally. Yeah. It's, I mean, I've had a number of, I still have a super reverb that he did for me. I've actually got 2 super reverbs that Cesar did. They both sound very different from one another. One's hyper clean. You get it up on 10 and it's still clean. But it's huge sounding. And the other one is more like a, closer to say what happened with the Princeton. And I've actually been working with an amp technician from Sweden for the last, I don't know, I guess 15 years now, maybe. And his name's Tommy Cougar. Tommy, do you guys know Tommy Cougar?
No, I don't.
So Tommy's lives around Stockholm, and we've been working together for a long time. And
okay, cool.
And Tommy, I've been actually playing through a number of his amps over the years as well, but especially on the road, right? Like bring them out, and so I saw him actually in Stockholm last October, and it was great. Went by his shop, and he's able to kind of fix up an amp I was having trouble with, but he's a brilliant guy. If you don't know about Tommy, he's
awesome.
He's a superstar. Tommy Cougar.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll check him out. That's awesome. So you actually you're heading over to Stockholm and you keep fly back and forth to check out amps and stuff?
Well, we happened to be there, like we were on a tour and in Scandinavia, so it worked out great. But yeah, I probably just put it in the mail before that. But it was fun. But it was fun to hang out with him a little bit. And he's a wonderful guy and a super talent as well. Yeah, check him out. He's one of the good guys.
Cool. Yeah, cool. Excellent.
Yeah.
So what amps are you using when you're recording and on tour and stuff like that? I assume recording it could be anything, but and what are you doing when you're live?
When it's live, if I'm traveling, or a lot of times I'll fly with a head and backline amps, and so usually for backline I'll just get a couple of twins because it's some of them work and some of them don't, but I know they're going to have lots of headroom. And other times I'll bring a head. I have a 100-watt head that Tommy made that's actually quite small, and it for a time it actually fit in my carry-on luggage for an airplane, so that made it nice. But so travel with that, or have a 50-watt head that he's done as well. I don't like to travel with the Princeton. It's just the shit gets thrown around. It's not really replaceable. But in a perfect world, I'd bring all of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then live.
What about in town here? Like when you're playing, when you can bring whatever you want?
Yeah, thanks for asking. I feel like it changes, like all of us. I think we like to try different things every other day, and but I've been bringing usually a super reverb, and a lot of times I'll combine the super reverb with this Princeton amp with a single 12. Some other times I'll use one of Tommy Cougar's heads through a 410 or a 212. I think it depends on the room and how loud I'm allowed to get.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think this is an interesting question.
Well, the baked potato, you can be any volume apparently.
That's why I love playing there. Everybody is so chill, and what a privilege to play there. That's a special room.
Yeah, I want to see a show there so badly one day.
It's fun. It's intimate.
It's gritty. It's gritty.
I passed by it. I know it's small. That's for sure.
It's small and gritty. It's never changed.
That's awesome.
As long as I've been going there, I've been going there since like 1988, and I don't think.
Oh wow!
I would bet they haven't changed the carpet since then.
You know what? It's funny you say that. They just
or maybe they did once.
They just recently changed the carpet, and the room it's even that like in a great studio live room, sometimes it's very dead sounding. They've got this carpet in, I think, within the last year or so, and the sound is it's definitely absorbed. It's working in there. It sounds good.
Okay, that's good.
That's cool. So yeah, this is a great question. Purposeful Porpoise. Thanks for the question. Does 60 cycle hum bug you? Beck, you silent single coil stack Surmade. I'm conflicted. I'm a purist knob, but silent sounds tempting. Yeah, I've got one of my Strats over there, which is their noiseless set, and it's cool. I don't know if I can hear the difference maybe, but what do you think about 60 cycle hum? You just deal with it or what?
Well, Dave, what do you think? You go first.
Volume knob is your friend.
Yes.
A lot of guitar players have forgotten what the volume knob is, and especially in more modern times. And, when people ask me about things like that, even with humbuckers and things with noise, or, say someone's playing a more rock sound and it's a heavier sound, there's going to be pickup buzz. Depending on the room you're in, it could be crazy. It could be awful. It could be they have dimmers in the room and they're dimmed down and it's just like, ah. Well, you better be quick. You don't, if the whole band's playing, you're probably not hearing it. And then you just better be quick on and off with the volume knob or where you're positioned, And I always grew up playing guitar that when you stopped playing, the volume knob was off. You just off, done, off, quick, And I was the same thing with Ed Van Halen, who I worked with a bunch. It's like he's like, yeah, you just got to have the volume off. It's like you do the volume. And I would watch people try to play through his rig, and it's like the pickups are squealing and everything's going crazy and stuff. And I'm like, and I'll pick up the guitar and just play through it, and just like, how do you make it even do that? I'm so used to controlling it with the volume knob, that it's you don't leave it wide open. The volume knob, it exists there for a reason.
Right.
It's tone knobs, volume knobs, it's an expression of your playing. Pickup changes. I mean, people go, well, what do I do with a one channel amp? I go, well, one channel amp, you got like 40 sounds just in your guitar alone. You can roll it off, pick up combinations, do different things, and where you're picking is going to sound radically different. So, I think it's almost a lesson. We have this one amp, and you're going to play this way with these single coils, and there's going to be this noise. Learn how to deal with it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What are your thoughts?
I agree. I just totally agree with everything that was just shared. I think that's just it. You just got to be quick on the volume knob. You got to song ends, you got to roll it down. Or if there's a quiet spot, or you got to roll that down. Or sometimes sometimes there's certain stages, as you mentioned. There's particularly dimmer switches, or someone turns on a air conditioner in another room, or the pop machine, soda machine. Whatever. Like there's all kinds of neon light gets plugged in, and there's nothing you can do. Sometimes you turn a certain angle and it goes away, so you just have to stand in that position the whole night. But yeah, I think it's really just being quick on the volume knob, and maybe making different choices than you would if maybe it's a little bit less gain that night, so you're playing a little cleaner leads, or you're trying things. Just roll with it. Just roll with it. Yeah. Make it part of the experience that night. Mark, did you share what on your end? How do you do it?
I mean, I'm a more of a humbucker guy. So live or playing with the band, I tend to use humbuckers. But when I am using single coils, like Dave said, you got to use the volume knob to cut it off. And it's or find a good spot where you're not getting that hum. If you can, you stand in that one spot.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's amazing
like, okay,
to me. It's amazing to me how many people do not understand that. Like, well, listen to this hum, and they're sitting right in front of their amp, like really close. I'm like, okay, back up 5 feet. Okay, now start spinning in your chair. If your chair has a ability to spin in your chair. Wait, find the spot that it hums the least.
Right.
Which I always say, I always laugh, and I go, which is probably laying on your back on the floor with the guitar this way,
Yeah.
But generally there's a spot that's maybe not quiet, but much quieter.
Better.
And don't get near your amp with the pickups. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're gonna go in close to your amp, it's gonna go rah. No.
And and you hear certain bootlegs of all of our heroes, people that we listen to. Mm-hmm. They just dealt with it. Like you hear it in those bootleg recordings. There's like a grind through the whole thing, and sometimes you just don't really notice it when the band is firing, and then and so sometimes there's nothing you could do about it, so you just kind of work with it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So the other question I had for you, Philip, was single coils, Strat. So neck, obviously the neck pickup is kind of the beauty there, at least for me, on a Strat or the the center position, or maybe some of the offs. But the bridge always just kind of drives me nuts. Like I'm not a
Really?
I'm not a big bridge Strat guy. Like it just that's why I'm kind of like, oh, if I'm going to go to the bridge, I want a humbucker. It just seems very thin and very. So I'm just curious, what are your thoughts? So do you go to the bridge a lot, or are you more of like a neck player?
Yeah, that's a great question, and thanks for asking. I think for me, I feel like I want to be an equal opportunist for all of the pickup positions. And sometimes you play different guitars, you get a different experience, particularly in the bridge pickup. Some of them maybe are a little less hot needles, as a very good friend of mine used to call it, hot needles, when something's too skinny and it just goes straight in your ear. And
Yeah.
and so try to avoid that sound. For bridge pickup, that's fuzz face. Just work with if that's sort of an issue, fuzz face, and just work your volume until it just fattens it up just right. Or you
Yeah.
can use a tone knob and roll a little bit of that kind of sharp sound. But ultimately, I like to find the guitar that each of the pickup positions are pleasing. But yeah, a lot of times the fuzz face can be a really good friend for that kind of thing. And then just roll it back so it's clean. You get just kind of fattens it up a little bit.
That's a great
usually
suggestion.
my
That's a great.
go-to.
Yeah, I like that suggestion because the fuzz face, when you do roll back the volume, it cleans up great, and you got
Yeah.
that great sparkle clean that.
Mhm.
But like you said, it fattens it up. So yeah, that's a great suggestion, actually.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was always, neck, bridge, or combos. Middle position alone wasn't really my thing ever. Some people like it. That's fine. I especially love like bridge and middle on a great Vox amp, where it's just doing that kind of Brian Adams sort of thing. That out of phase bridge and middle sound.
Yeah.
Just awesome.
I
But
love that you just mentioned Brian Adams. I just have to say I'm a huge Brian Adams fan. So thank you.
yeah, I saw him recently, not that long ago at the Forum.
He sings as well as he ever did. It's crazy.
God, he sounds amazing.
Hmm.
I'm a little disappointed that they're using fractals, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, that's a little disappointing. But you know what? They sang great. They sounded great. So I mean, I can live. I mean, the guitar sounds weren't as good as they have been in the past, but
Who's the guitar player? Keith Scott? Is that
yeah,
right?
Keith Scott.
Yeah.
Keith
Wow.
Scott's amazing.
Yeah, amazing.
Great player.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, but also like when you said the tone knob. So do you wire a tone knob to the bridge pickup?
On newer guitars, I do. I think on one of the old Strats, it is wired. On the other one, it's not. So
Yeah.
the other one doesn't need it. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a mod I always would do too. Just take another tone knob and put it to the bridge pickup, so you can roll it off just a smidge, or you can change the cap value where it really doesn't do that much except roll off just the highs. So that's
Good point.
like a Lindy Fralin trick that he would
Yeah.
do on the bridge.
Yeah. Very cool.
There's a whole thing about tone knobs and what they do, even when it's all the way open. Depending. So when a tone knob on a Strat is all the way open, it's not really completely out of the circuit. It's still partially in the circuit, right? It's still bleeding top end to ground. The capacitor value that's used will dictate the tone, even if that you're not using the tone knob. It'll dictate how much the frequencies that are still being bled to ground. So like on really vintage Strats, it was a 0.1 cap. And then later it was like 0.047s.
Yeah.
And even later, I think it was 0.022s, I think.
I think
So-
you're right. Yeah.
So it's an interesting test when you have a set of pickups and you just change the cap value, even when the tone knob's open. It's not closed down at all. It's all the way open. And you just change that cap value, and you can hear changes in the overall how the pickup sounds. And you're like, oh, which one do I like?
Yeah. And then obsess over that.
And
for a long
and
time.
then you can like kind of dial in the guitar a little bit for the tone you're looking for.
Yeah, certainly gone
I
down that
call me
rabbit
a
hole.
little anal retentive about things like that, but I
No.
kind of get into that. It's like that
That's
pickup
a-
doesn't sound quite right, but why? Wait, the tone cap. Okay, wait, let's try that one. Oh, that one's better. I like that. Okay, great.
Totally. Yeah, that is a very slippery rabbit hole, and you can lose a lot of time in that tone cap rabbit hole. Yeah,
Yeah,
certainly
for
have.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's jump
I
into
like
some,
that stuff though.
let's jump to some
Oh,
questions
yeah.
from the audience. We got a super chat from Waddy 1960 CS. I think that's what it is, Waddy. I'll get the ball rolling, and I appreciate that. Hope you're all well tonight. Philip, what pedals are you currently on your pedal board?
Oh, well, right. Well, thanks for asking. I appreciate you asking. It's not that fancy. I use the same stuff that I've used for a really long time. I might swap out the same model for a different one because every pedal sounds a little different, even if it's the same pedal. But I mean, I have some stuff here on the table. This is the room that I practice in. When I'm at home every day. But I use this pedal here. This is one of the pedals that Cesar Diaz made when I was at his house. And we were just hanging in his shop, and he made this. This is a Texas Ranger pedal, which is really great. It's sort of his version of a Rangemaster pedal, but you can adjust to either high frequency, mid frequency, or the low frequency, which is closer to like a fuzz. I also have a square face from him that he made when I was at his place, and very, very, very special sounding unit. I've got a few of these, and they all sound a little different, but that works as a fuzz face, and I think that's what he had developed working with Stevie Ray Vaughan when they were on the road together and building that pedal, and that was actually a really fun experience. I love telling people, anyone who'll listen about this. But when I was at his house and he was building this, he pulled out a bag of transistors. Like, it was a huge bag. Must have been hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, in that bag. And he was in that bag looking for a couple, pulling the ones out, measuring, and he goes, "Okay, I've got the ones I want." And he put it together, whipped it up, I plugged it in, and it was like, holy shit. And it was a lot of fun. So I like to use that, and a lot of using the volume knob to get a whole range of different tones with that pedal. So it kind of acts like a bunch of pedals. And then other times I'll use they just happen to be on the table here because I was changing them all out today. This is an old tube screamer that I have, like an old 808, which sounds great. Either an 808 or an old 9. I've been kind of going back and forth with those two over the last little while. Over here I have a Vox Clyde 67, I guess, whatever year. This is a very early one, where the front didn't have the logo on it yet, right on the front.
Oh yeah.
And so it was Clyde that one. I've had a lot of Clydes. I'm kind of a bit of Clyde madness over the years. V846 I really like too, but this one I'm using right now is my favorite at the moment. And then other ones I use different univibes, certainly with a Hendrix influence or Trower influence, and so I've been using a Mega Vibe, which was KR. Kevin Randall made those some years ago, and I like to use but I do use some other vibes as well. I like Bob Sweet's vibes. There's a lot of people making excellent vibes these days. A lot of really.
There's also the Vibe Machine. I don't know if you ever played with that one. Vibe Machine
Heard
with
about
the guys. Yeah, that's amazing. That's pretty. I remember years ago. I remember talking to Bob Sweet because Bob Sweet was from Michigan, and I'm from Michigan.
Oh no way.
And
okay.
Yeah. So originally, I was introduced to the Univibe, more modern Univibes through Prescription Electronics.
Yeah.
The old swirl painted things. But what that was a Bob Sweet board reproduction that they put in the swirl paint box. So Bob Sweet, it was really his board, his thing. And I remember talking to him several times, man. It sounded like he was a pretty heavy smoker. That's what I got out of him talking to him. He was a sweetheart of a guy, and man, he really knew his vibes in and out and backwards and forwards. And then he made he made the smaller one too. What was in the Mojo Vibe or something for a while? The purple.
That's right.
Littler one. He had the bigger one too, but the littler one was actually really good. But the
It's totally,
vibe
yeah.
thing, man, it's all about the pulse. It's the pulse of the vibe. It has to be off kilter. It's got to be that kind of yin yang, yin yang, kind
Yeah,
of thing. It
yeah.
can't be even, and it has to have that gooey, kind of pulsy, gooey, vibrate the cabinet across the floor kind of vibe. And it's
Yeah.
really hard. A lot of people try to do it, and even though they're doing it right, they still get it wrong. And it's all about that pulse, that off kilter pulse for me. I've even heard original ones that don't have that, and then some that do. So it's
Maybe the way that they were set.
well, no, it's very, so it's all a light bulb and photocells around it, so it's really dependent on the tolerances of photocells and the tolerance of the light bulb, how the light bulb is trimmed. If it's trimmed too much, it gets too like clumsy, like it's like blah, 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 and then if it's trimmed too low, it's too weak and it doesn't have the kind of thing you want. If it's trimmed just right, even the old days with the prescription electronic Univibes, when we used to get them in, we would hand trim them to the voltage supply going in until it just sounded just right, and you can, and okay, that's my rant.
No, I'm on the edge of my seat with all the things you're saying, because I love that experience of, you get a pedal and open it up, and then you sort of just tailor it to what you want to hear, the way you play. And, a lot of them had those trim pods. So whether it was Bob Sweet's Ultra Vibes, and I had a number of those. And I remember sending it back to him for repairs at different times. And I think, that's definitely the way to do it. And I think there are a lot of really talented builders today that are making vibes that are really getting it right. Some of them you hear just like, man, it's pretty phenomenal. So
it's all about the weight behind the note when that's pulsing like that. Especially if it's a loud amp, it's got to move some air. It's got to have that real like thick thing. And when you hear that and it's loud, you're just like, yeah.
I always like. I'm sorry, Phil. Go ahead.
No, but Mark, go ahead, please.
I was going to say I always like the micro vibe.
The original micro vibe actually was pretty good. It had the pulse right. And the interesting thing about that one, because I actually worked with Josh on that pedal years ago. The interesting thing about that one, they did it slightly different. They had the traditional light bulb and everything. But that one actually tended to be a little clearer in a distorted amp. It still had the right pulse, but it was a little more clarity than some of the real traditional Univibes, which could get a little mucky. So it depends on what you were going for, but the microvibe actually worked really well.
Yeah.
It's a little tiny pedal that worked fantastic at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a good price too at the time.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
LCW, what's going on? Thanks for the super chat. We did actually ask this question already.
And we did talk about it.
How the process developing those pickups. But make sure you check out Sweetwater and go pick them up.
And I love Mark, by the way. I love Mark over there at Seymour Duncan. Mark is a friend also.
You know Mark?
Yeah.
Mark's the best. He's
Mark. I've been dealing with Mark the last several years since he became the CFO, CS, whatever he is now, CFO, CEO, of Duncan.
HEO.
Yeah, I've been dealing. I'm not sure which title it is, but sorry, Mark. Head honcho. How about that?
Head honcho. Yeah, big cheese.
The head honcho cheese. Yeah. So Mark's been always awesome, and anything I've asked, he's like come through with. So
he's a really special guy, and like we were talking about Michael Nielsen being a really special guy as well. Mark DiLorenzo, I feel really thankful to have met him, and he created a platform during the pandemic when all of us were trying to figure out what to do, and it's called Together. And Together was it's a live streaming platform that different players are playing live, and then people can come on and they can actually come on screen like what we're doing right now and chat in real time. And so he's got all kinds of great cats on there, like people I really admire for sure. People like J.D. Simo or Josh Smith was on there, and Eric Johnson did one, and Greg Koch has been on there. Like lots of really really cool players, and I just appreciate that what Mark is giving to the community, to the musicians, and yeah, he's top shelf.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's cool. Did you end up having MJ's flautas or any of her food?
You know what? I didn't, but I've heard all the stories, and MJ couldn't be any more lovely. Like just what a warm, kind person, and super obviously legendary and very talented. MJ is like the superstar pickup master at Seymour Duncan. She's been there for decades, and happens to also be like she's a total rock star, but also just a great person.
Yeah, super nice.
And,
show.
I owe them a visit. Oh, cool. Yeah, I have to go there actually because I have this really old JB humbucker that I've had forever that really needs that little love with the waxing department, and it gives me an excuse to go there. So I think I'm going to do that one day.
Totally, yeah.
That's cool.
Drive up for the day, and whatever, hang out, go have some dinner, something.
It's a lovely drive up along the ocean, and
actually, I think I was talking to Michael Nielsen about going with me.
Perfect.
Wasn't I talking to you, Michael? I don't know. I think I remember talking to you about this, and we were like, you should film some content while we're there.
Oh, that would be cool.
With them, I think that would be great. So I think we should do that, Michael. So let's make a plan sometime in the near future. I'll set it up with Mark.
Oh yeah.
That's cool. I'd love to go with you guys.
Road trip.
Yeah. Michael Nielsen, Big Hairy Guitars. Thanks for the super chat. Hey, you boys. Phil, as a vintage Strat guy, what's your experience? What's your experience with the PRS Silver Sky? It's surprising to see you play a new guitar.
Thanks, Michael. I started, collaborating with Paul Reed Smith at the company a couple of years back. Friends that had played the Silver Sky were saying they would just say like, "Hey, man, I know you like these Strat guitars, or and have you tried a Silver Sky?" And I'm like, I haven't. They sound great from what I've heard. I just never tried one. And they're like, you should. Okay. And I didn't for whatever reason. And then I had an opportunity to go to the showroom in Burbank and connect with Wynn, who's up there at the Paul Reed Smith showroom here. And my friend Glenn from Austin, set it up. And I went up there and I was absolutely flabbergasted with how good those guitars are. I mean, they are amazing. And I brought my two 1963 Strats with me, and we played. I got into it. I've actually brought a super reverb. I brought all the stuff because I'm like, are these really going to do it? And they did. I was blown away, and I love the guitar. I mean, really, if I didn't like it, I wouldn't play it. And I'm very picky, as we all are. And I just, there was a show that the PRS hosted around NAMM this last year. Was their 40th anniversary. They did it at House of Blues, and I was invited to play, which was very meaningful. And all of these great players were there. Tim Pierce, and it was a night of like David Grissom showed up. Like it was a lot of fun. And John Mayer was he closed the show. I think it's fair to say he would be the headliner. He's very famous artist, obviously, and he put on an amazing show. And I had a chance to chat with him a little bit about the guitars, and he said something that I thought was so interesting, because we were talking about Strats and the feel of the Silver Sky, and he said something along the lines of it handles corners real well. Like it's like it can take corners at high speeds. It handles it real well. And I thought that was just such a perfect way to put it. It would be like being in a high performance, really fancy car, and it can take that corner no problem at 80 miles an hour, 100 miles an hour, versus doing it in a rental car and getting off the road or whatever. It was the feel of those guitars. It's so refined and so exactly what I want it to be when I'm playing. It's they did it. They did it. I don't want to say they reinvented the wheel, but they made it better.
And the pickups sound fantastic on that guitar too.
Awesome.
Yeah, those guitars, every time I've heard them, like a shootout versus vintage guitars and stuff, I'm always like, damn, that sounds good.
Yeah,
You know,
Tim Pierce did one, right?
Yeah, he did one. There's been a couple actually that I've seen, and every time I've seen it, I'm like, no, man, that sounds great. And I'm like, okay. I've actually never played one, but every time I've heard them, it's been, I was like, yeah, that's great.
I've got an SC right here.
Oh, nice. Those are incredible. Those are incredible instruments.
Yeah, I wish he would make the USA in lefty, but Paul's got a thing about lefties. I don't know what it is, but
oh, really? I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, I actually asked him if he was going to make a Silver Sky in lefty, and he said something like "Never in Hell" or something. I can't remember what he said. Yeah, as he was walking away from me, not a chance in hell. I think he said that might have been.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I caught him on the wrong day.
Yeah, it was at Sweetwater Gear Fest.
Yeah,
but he was also. I was waiting for him. He was just getting off the phone, and so I was kind of like waiting for him. So he might have been annoyed. Who knows?
You know what? I will say that the team at Seymour Duncan, as I was saying, Seymour Duncan at Paul Reed Smith, like the Seymour Duncan team, working with that company is a breath of fresh air at Paul Reed Smith. They are awesome to work with. Just so kind, so thoughtful, very, very warm-hearted. I can't say enough good things about. There's a zero ego. They're not like walking around like they're high and mighty. No, they're super chill and very. They want to get like kind of into the weeds with you and work on tones and what you like, what don't you like, and it's been a great experience collaborating with Paul Reed Smith, and I can't recommend those guitars enough. Really, they're excellent, and in some ways it's almost like saying, okay, like your vintage guitar is almost like a GTO, right? If you're a vintage car guy, like it's like a GTO, you hear it rumbling, it's coming from the street, like a block or two away, you know it's coming, and you might
break halfway down the street.
You don't know what's going to happen, right?
You don't know. You don't know if it'll keep working halfway down the street.
And then the Silver Sky, to me, because that's the guitar I'm spending the most time with, is like an incredible new electric vehicle, like just with power windows, and it's got Wi-Fi in the car. It's got all the shit, and so it's really and as paraphrasing, but as John Mayer said, takes the corners real well, and it's just like it's so comfortable to play. I don't know, Mark, if that's your experience on the with the neck, but there's something about the necks that just really cool. And I just also have to say that some of my favorite players of all times were lefty players that took the right-handed guitar and flipped it over. So, that's like the coolest.
Yep. Doyle Bramo.
Come on,
that guy's amazing.
He's brilliant. Yeah,
he's so underrated.
And there's Eric Gales. That's all mixed up.
Gales. Yeah,
incredible. He's phenomenal. And players like Coco Montoya has been one of my favorite players ever. Left-handed, upside down, and certainly, of course, Otis Rush and Albert King and many great players. And but there's always been something about the lefties that play that way. It's cool.
Yeah, well, upside down with the strings, really completely upside down.
Left-handed guitar player, but playing it's
right-handed guitar. Yeah,
it's just like there's something way fucked up.
Crazy.
About that.
It's crazy.
But
it's psychedelic.
That's what makes Eric very interesting, because a guy that works for me that has played with Zappa Band and all these people that are crazy muso guy, plays a Baked Potato a ton. He's like, Eric's interesting because when you do that, it changes. They're not the same chords anymore. The licks don't come out the same way anymore. There's a different twist on the whole thing, because it's backwards. It's upside down and backwards. and I can't even comprehend that.
Yeah, he's so hard to
and when you hear him do things, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact it's strung that way, but god damn, he'll hurt you.
Yeah, he's
you don't
ridiculous.
want to go in a guitar duel with that dude.
Yeah, no, he's a bad man. He's a bad man, and his brothers, were also equally as bad. Little Jimmy King being another player that played that way, and certainly he had a record a long time ago that was called Left Hand Brand, and it's crazy. He's playing with his brothers on there. Just phenomenal player, and very inspiring, and just super talent. And I mentioned Coco Montoya. I don't know if you guys have checked out a lot of Coco, but he was playing with. He lives in California. I met him a couple of times, but I don't know him. But he's been one of my favorite guitar players forever and a day. And he was playing with John Mayall on the Blues Breakers alongside, and Walter Trout was the second. They were both in that band together, so they were cutting heads every night. But man, Coco Montoya, something about that upside down and backwards, and the vibrato that he could get, and the chord shapes, as you were saying, and the licks, the way they came out. Just and Doyle. I mean, Doyle is just, he's such a remarkable artist and musician.
Yeah. One of the guys you mentioned earlier when we were talking about microvibes or vibes was Robin Trower, and so underrated. I think he doesn't get mentioned a lot in these discussions. He was so good. I love
Trower is amazing.
Yeah, Bridge of Sighs, so good.
Of course.
Yeah. Crazy. I remember seeing him. He's the loudest guitar player I've ever seen, and had, I think, live, maybe the best tone I ever heard live, at least within the, it just gets different at that point. It's not like it's better. He was unbelievable the times I've seen him live. Like, I'm crying. I'm at the stage and I'm crying. It's so good. Yeah, Trower's one of my all-time favorites.
I saw Trower play a long time ago, early 90s. I would guitar tech for Mike Landau.
Wow.
In the Burning Water days, and they actually opened up for Robin Trower at somewhere. I don't remember. I don't think it was the Coach House. It might have been the Strand in Redondo Beach or something.
Okay.
And I remember sitting there watching him, Robin Trower, at soundcheck, and just checking him out, and it's like, oh yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, that's good stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He reaches in and like grabs you. Like, he's just got a thing. He's very special.
Yeah. Absolutely. For anybody who hasn't checked him out, check out Robin Trower if you haven't. Sloppy Fingers. Thank you for the super chat. First non-gear chat. Congrats, Mark, on your Florida Panthers winning again. Yeah, that was fucking awesome.
That's you. Are you a
Panthers
guy?
I live in South Florida. Yeah, I'm a Panthers guy.
Okay, we need to chat about this. Okay, but please go ahead. Sorry.
So he said that's a hell of a team they have right now. Dave, I'm assuming you're an old Wings fan, and Philip, are you a Leafs fan?
Yeah, but see, I'm from Detroit originally, so I'm an anything Canada fan also. So Edmonton would have been my pick, for sure. But because I don't think Florida's been in the league long enough to really. I don't think they should win anything because they haven't been there long enough.
What does that mean?
I started in hockey back when there was the original, not all these expanded teams. So I'm going old school here.
Yeah, but I mean, if they're kicking everybody's ass, they deserve to win.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. I'll give you that. But but it's just not hockey. It's Florida. There shouldn't be a hockey team in Florida. I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm not really convinced there should be a hockey team in California either. But
no, I mean, if there's not one in Florida, if there shouldn't be one in Florida, there shouldn't be one in California. So,
well, yeah. But I don't think there should be one in Vegas either. I don't think there should be.
I love that hockey has come up in this. Thank you for raising the hockey theme. And I have to say, I would like to have seen McDavid get a cup because he is, he's the generational player at the moment. He's phenomenal. Certainly Draisaitl and talking about the Edmonton Oilers, would have been great to see them win. But the Panthers were absolutely stunning how good they were, top to bottom. They deserve to win. To see Marchand playing on that team the way that he did, I thought he was MVP for the playoffs. I thought he scored a goal in the series against Toronto. Toronto was up 2-0, and then he scored the overtime winner. And from there, everything was an avalanche. They just demolished everybody that got in their way. And Marchand was doing shit that was like, are you kidding me? And yeah, Bennett, like these guys are phenomenal too. But there was something that there's something about Marchand that he brings that's magic. And so you gotta take your hat off. That team is they're unbelievable right now. So
yeah, Tkachuk is great. I mean, they're all
right,
great.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm just being a salty old hockey guy.
no, I hear you. I mean,
and 2 years in a row. That's the other thing.
Yeah, it's great.
Back to back is pretty impressive. I know it's been done before, but
I think the Penguins did it like 10 years ago, Crosby time. But I mean, I like the Leafs. Of course, I'm raised in Toronto, but I've also really, really taken a lot of inspiration from Sidney Crosby. And I'll say this: a lot of times when I'm practicing at home, I'll be watching a Penguins game, and I'll watch what Crosby's doing, and I feel like he's like a guitar great, the way that he plays. And the things that he does and the shit that he sets up and like the behind, like there's nobody like that guy. And I know he's kind of in the latter part of his career, but the way that he improvises and how graceful he is, it's like, I want to play guitar like Crosby when he's on fire. Like that's like really, it's like he just owns the zone. He sees the whole thing going on. He's great. He's powerful in the way he plays, little things that he does. Yeah, I really admire him. I really take a lot of inspiration from the way he plays hockey. I try to put some of that into my music.
That's interesting.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And to watch sports, I do that too sometimes. I'll play guitar and watch sports even with the volume off.
Totally.
It's just yeah.
I remember seeing I think Stevie Ray Vaughan talking about how he had in an interview, he was talking about how he would watch certain sports and I don't know, like they'd kick the ball and he'd be like he'd be mirroring what he saw. I thought, oh, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep. We got another one from Sloppy Fingers. I saw you in Ottawa 2 times, Philip. I have this one lesson of yours in an old GT mag, Guitar Techniques magazine, probably. I wish I can get that rhythm. Mark Ibanez with Gibson re-released the Destroyer so us lefties can have one. Really? Is that happening?
Ibanez
re-released the Destroyer?
I doubt it. I doubt Gibson would let Ibanez re-release the
I don't think
Destroyer. That was cool.
Yeah, that would be nice, but I doubt it.
I do know someone that'll make you one though.
Oh yeah?
Yes, I do.
A set neck Destroyer?
Well, you can talk about that.
Okay. You mean offline?
No, I mean I don't want to say his name just in case he gets in trouble.
Okay.
But there's a great guitar luthier I like out here that is awesome at doing custom things like that.
Oh, that would be cool.
He works for a lot of big bands and does things that no one would know was him.
Right.
Interesting.
Oh,
yes.
Nice.
We'll talk later.
Yeah.
We'll talk later.
Okay. I'd like to know as well, please.
You might like to know too, because you actually would love him. He's an amazing individual.
Oh, yes.
And he's close in the valley, kind of thing. So
wonderful. Awesome. Before I forget, Dave, we're going to be at Mates next week. So I don't know. Maybe I'll.
Oh yeah, you should stop in. There. Yeah. When are you going to be here?
I think Wednesday.
Only Wednesday?
I think it's only Wednesday. Is that you're not there that day?
Well, maybe I'll be here. Generally, I go down to my factory that day and I test things, but
we'll be back.
I could maybe move the day.
No, we'll talk offline, but we'll be back and I'll come bug you next time we're there.
Yeah, for sure. And anything you ever need, or if you got a repair or something you need or something, please feel free to reach out. I mean, stuff breaks.
You're going to wish you didn't say that. I'm going to be all over you, man.
No, stuff breaks all the time. Everything, pedals, everything, jacks, everything breaks.
I solder. You know what? I solder like a Neanderthal. It is absolutely. You're going to see this shit. You're going to go like, bro, don't solder anymore. Like it's a mess.
Don't do this anymore. Bring it to me, please. Don't do that.
Yeah. No, it's under the hood of all these pedals. I replace jacks or a pot or whatever. It's
oh
like
yeah, man. No, I mean, no, you shouldn't do. No. But just bring
I
it.
got half a
dude,
roll of solder. It's
where are you? Where do you live? What area?
Like in the mid city, like near the
Yeah, that's no big deal. Then yeah. So just hop over here and just like bring it to me, and I'll fix it. It's
amazing.
not a problem.
We'll talk. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure you have all sorts of shit that's broken.
Yeah.
Everything everyone does.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, some paperweights.
And I hate seeing stuff that's like, it's just like, oh my god, who did you take this to before?
Yeah, you're gonna have a
let's
chuckle.
make this nice and solid for you because I come from a big background of doing guitar rigs for guitar players on the road.
Yeah.
And the thing is this stuff has to be solid. I mean, your stuff has to be solid from night to night on the road, and you need this stuff to be, bulletproof kind of, or at least as bulletproof as you can get it. I mean, you can always kick a pot, break it, and do something to it, but with basic maintenance, it should be pretty bulletproof.
Yeah, or the airlines do it. They're really good.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
Generally, though, I mean, yeah, they can. But
Well, now they'll take your pedal board apart. I've seen.
Oh
shit like
yeah.
That's not new. That's been going on for 10 million years.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember 20 years ago, the airline taking pedal boards apart. The key is you try to make it so they can't pry it apart.
Yeah.
So they're just like, oh, fuck that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Billy Joe, we did ask this question already. We asked Philip about the Silver Sky and that he's been playing it and he loves it. But thank you for the super chat. Billy Justice Guitar. Philip, I've noticed in some of your recent stuff some jazzy chromatic stuff. Is that at something you're working on? I could be wrong too. LOL.
Wow. Well, thanks for asking. And as I was saying earlier in this chat today, I'm a student of music, and I'm just always trying different things and working on the craft every single day. I'm working on things. So if I can find a little flavor to throw in that ends up in there, and maybe it's something new, I'm willing to try it on. And sometimes you were going for something and it ended up not quite landing, but maybe get away with it too, if you know what I mean.
That's okay. That's the danger. Yeah. That's what we call the danger.
That's you want to play in the danger zone. It's exciting there. But no, I mean, I do love. I mean, at home, a lot of times I listen to people like Louis Armstrong, and I love the melody and the tone of. I mean, even playing with Jeff Healey, he was a huge jazz aficionado. Not so much modern jazz, but he could tell you at the drop. I'll share this really quickly. This is how much of a master he was of music. We were in Seattle, and we went. He called me to meet him in the lobby. We were playing, and he just said, "I'm going to go to this record store. Do you want to come with me?" Because he was one of the largest collectors of pre-war vinyl, things like that he had. That was it was incredible. And we went into this shop, and he'd be sort of, Jeff was blind, but he'd be feeling through the records, and he would pull one out, and then he would put his fingers on it, and he would feel the grooves, he would feel the serial number, and he'd be like, okay, Benny Goodman, is this on Decca? And I'd look at it and I go, holy shit, dude. Yeah, okay, good, I have that one. And then he would go through some more, but that's how deep he was. And so a lot of his improvising would be maybe a beautiful Benny Goodman line or a line from a Louis Armstrong song or things that. So I think a lot of that influence is kind of something I try to pepper into my playing from time to time. I'll try to grab little things like that certainly remind me of Jeff, but I love music from that era. I love the sound and the tones and the spirit of that playing. There's so much joy in the musicians in that era, and virtuosity. But
Right.
That's a cool question. Thanks for listening.
Oh, that's great. Fowler 989, thanks for the super chat. Dave, what is the ultimate vibe available today?
Shit, man. But probably that's a tough one. I mean, Vibe Machine stuff is great, and it's really small.
Have you seen this one?
I'm not looking at you. Hang on, I'm just on it.
That's a J Rocket.
A Univerb, yeah. I haven't played with that. I don't know. I do know for a fact, and some pretty picky Vibe guys, the Vibe Machine is pretty great, and I put it on many, and it's really small, man. It's tiny, and that's really nice. It has the right pulse and the right thing, and I've talked to those guys, and they are so anal retentive about what they're doing with that vibe. I mean, they barely come out with any other products other than the Vibe Machine over the years. They came out with the so it's Dry Bell Vibe Machine, but Dry Bell also though has another really cool pedal, the Unit 67. So the Unit 67 is it does a few things. It's sort of 1176 compression, EQ, and range master, and clean boost all in one. It's pretty freaking cool, actually, if you ask me. I know my friend Pete Thorne did a video on that one, and it's pretty amazing sounding, especially into like kind of a already amp that's already crunchy, that just wants that compression and that
pulse
thing.
Yeah,
you'd probably love that pedal. Actually, you should reach out to that company and see if they send you a couple of their pedals, the Vibe and the other thing, because you're the perfect candidate for those pedals. I mean, like literally the perfect candidate. So I don't know if they will, but they might.
Well, thanks for thinking of me. Yeah, I'll look at. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you would like both of those pedals, actually.
That's cool.
Knowing what I know of your playing and stuff, I think that they'd be right up your alley.
Oh, right on. Well, thank you for the heads up.
Yeah.
Ontario Sound, thanks for the super chat. I don't see a question. I looked around. If there is one, just someone tell me. I didn't see it. Sonic Blue 1922, thanks for the super chat. Dave, thanks for the help getting my twin sister back up after the power outage here. Best customer service in the industry, and appreciate your patience with a noob working on an amp.
Yeah, man, I'm glad you got it worked out. That's awesome.
Very cool.
Steve, it's 2 a.m. in Ireland. You guys are keeping me company while I change pickups in my 335.
Well, that's a horrible job.
That sucks.
That's a terrible job.
I would not want to do that.
I would just take it to my guitar guy. Here.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Yeah.
Tell me when it's done.
Do you play 335 type guitars, Philip?
I wish I did. There was one.
Do you own one?
I don't. There was one that got away that I really, really, really should have bought at the time. I just didn't have the money for it. It was an early '60s 335 red.
Those are the best.
And,
those are the best.
And it was low price, and I just didn't have the bread at the time. And I remember how it sounded. It did everything and more. And I haven't played another one quite like it. So I think the problem is I get very, very expensive taste. So I got to keep working on my paper route and save up for it.
Yeah, well, if one comes across your plate again, you might make that decision. That you might change your mind quickly. You might buy it.
I wish.
If a great one comes across,
if the price is right. If the price is right. Yeah. I actually found a 335, not a vintage one. It was probably early 2000s, but I found one in Guitar Center used for $800. This is like
Oh,
over 20 years ago, but still for $800. And I bought it used. And then this is speaking of guitars that got away. I sold it because I didn't, at the time, I was a bit of a noob on the guitar. I didn't like where the strap button sat on it.
I mean,
And
that's
I was like,
important. That's okay.
yeah, I was kind of like, oh, doesn't it feels uncomfortable. And I sold it, and I regret it totally because
Oh,
it sounded
man.
fantastic. It was Tobacco Burst. It was beautiful.
You
Oh.
know, a guitar that, if you don't care about the Gibson name necessarily, and if you want a 335 style guitar, there were a bunch of guitars that Yamaha made that were a 335.
Mhm.
SA60, I think, was one of them, and I think SA70 or something was one of them. And those guitars are the snappiest, coolest sounding 335s ever, and generally you can get them for nothing.
Hmm.
And they're exactly a 335. Or the other option too is you can get an Orville
Right.
335. So that was a Gibson, a Gibson made, but it was made in Japan at the Fujijin factory. So Fujijin factory is the number one Japan factory ever for all the great Japanese guitars. They were the ones. And if you can get an Orville, man, it is literally a carbon copy of a vintage 335. And you can get it for way less money. And it's not really, I actually compared, I had an Orville for a while, which I actually sold to the guy that works for me. And I compared it to a real 60s, early 60s 335. And man, yeah, you really couldn't tell the difference.
Wow.
It really was that good. So like, I'm a big fan of those like Fujijin made Japanese copies of things because they're amazing. Like I have a Les Paul that's a Bernie Les Paul.
A Bernie, yeah.
Yeah. And that Les Paul sounds better than most Les Pauls I've ever come into contact with. And and it's just as solid and, early, it's like 80s era, and it's amazing. And I think they did a lot of stuff amazing. And the Orville thing was copied to a T, it was copied off the best version of a 335 for Gibson. And and if you know Japanese culture, they're going to get it perfect.
Yeah.
So there's options. There is options. If you don't care about the name, there's options.
Oh yeah. You know who makes another great?
If you just care about the sound, there's definitely options.
Collings makes great.
Oh,
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Collings is great. Yeah.
Yeah, they're expensive, but they make great stuff. Let's
Beautiful.
see.
Yeah.
Jeremy Power. Hey Dave, use an IRD into effects, then amp return. Need a power amp for 112 cafes and a 412 for gigs. Prefer tube, but worried about low volume tone. Fryette Power Station versus Boss TAE, or better option.
Well, I mean, if you want to spend the money, the Fryette Power Station, sure, but you can also, if you're coming out the balanced out of that unit, I would say even the Seymour Duncan power amp is pretty good because we have a power amp simulation in that thing that will kind of compensate for the Class D power amp that's in the Duncan. So you might want to try that. It's small. I mean, the Fryette Power Station probably be the best of your choice there. And the TAE, well, I mean, it's not really any better than necessarily the Seymour Duncan.
Okay. How you doing on time, Philip? You doing okay?
I'm okay. I'm gonna check and see what my battery power is like here. Let's see. Oh, I still got a little juice, but if it shuts off suddenly, just
You're not plugged in?
no. Well, I got my my.
Oh, you got the
trusty
headphones in. That's the problem. Okay,
I
well,
got
if he
budget
cuts out,
headphones.
if he cuts out, automatically we're done.
Just want to make sure. I'll get through these questions as fast as we can because
Cool.
we've got a bunch
Thanks,
of
Mark.
super chats. Yeah, no problem. I appreciate your time. Really do, Philip.
I'm
A
happy
Revelo
to be here with
90
you guys.
Yeah,
What
thank
was that?
a Revelo 93. Dave, I'm thinking of swapping out the speaker on my Friedman Closeback 112. I have a Wildwood 20. Should I try the Creamback 75 or Vintage 30?
Your Closeback 112 already has the Vintage 30. Oh no! I'm sorry, it doesn't. It has the Creamback. Well, okay, the Creamback 75 is going to be more scooped. The V30 will be more punchy and bright in the upper mids. So I don't know what that'll tell you. I mean, to be honest, what's in it is probably pretty good.
Okay.
You're not
Did you
telling
guys-
me what you want different out of the cabinet.
Yeah.
So if you think it's too mid-rangey or something like that, then yeah, okay, the 75 might be good.
Okay. Ted Furr, thank you for the super chat. Good evening, Philip. I'm a huge fan of yours and love the song Morning Star. Did you have any specific influences for writing such a killer song? Thanks.
Oh man, well, thank you. That's really wonderful. I appreciate that kindness. Yeah, I wrote that song with my friend Cassius Pereira, my best friend from high school. We wrote that on my parent when we were in high school, and I played that riff for him, and he goes, "Yeah, that's a good one. Let's make a song out of that." And so, we kind of did, and really the main influences at the time would have been Albert Collins, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and Ian Moore. Those would be the three that we were all, we were in love with those artists in high school, and so I would say those three guys had, and obviously Jimi Hendrix, but yeah, I would say those guys made a big influence on that song. But just happened to be a riff that I'd had for a while, and I was kind of playing it when I was practicing, and when I played it together with him, he's like, "Oh man, I like that riff. Let's go." And yeah, we sort of brought in a little bit of Albert Collins type feel in areas, and yeah, it's a fun song. Thanks for listening, my friend.
That's great. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate the question. Actually, it was Ted who asked the question.
Thanks, Ted.
Yeah. Chris Puckett. Philip, you're a sick player. You've inspired me to dig back into my Strat. Can you talk about your setup and how you get that sick Strat tone?
We'll play on, my friend. That's beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. And I like to have a certain amount of headroom in an amplifier, whether it's Marshall or Fender or Vox. We were talking about earlier. High watt, whatever it is. Just that there's a certain amount of clarity to it. And by that, I don't mean like a thinness or a pointed sound, but something that just retains clarity at a high volume when you're digging in and hitting hard. The speaker choice is really important for me. My favorite speakers are either higher powered JBLs or EV speakers. And that being said, some of my favorite cabinets are also late 60s Marshall cabinets that are healthy and still working on 412s. But
then that's totally different.
It's a totally different thing. But there's a big deep woodiness to that. But there's still a clarity to that sound. And again, I think it's like each height of the pickups. How high do you have your pickups? Sometimes you keep the pickups a little lower than you would think. Get a little bit more air in the tone. A lot of times, like on an overdrive, I won't use a ton of gain on the overdrive, but I'll hit the front end of the amp harder, so I'll max out the volume and try to get that sound. Try to get the amp.
Well, let me ask you a question. So, with your amps, if you don't have a pedal on, are they a little bit gritty?
There's a little hair on it for sure. A little bit of hair, but
a little bit of hair, like on a Super Reverb, for instance. You're okay, I know you've had modified super reverbs and stuff, but on a stock super reverb, like you're putting the volume where?
Probably at the highest 7, because after that it just gets a
Okay,
little
so
blurry.
it's already crunchy.
A little bit. Yeah, you get a little out of there.
Crunchy.
Little hair. Yeah.
It's crunchy, and then you're hitting it with a pedal to push it further. Maybe not a lot of gain on the pedal, but you're pushing it.
Exactly.
Is that correct?
Totally. Smacking the front end of the amp.
Back in the front.
Yeah.
That's what I figured, because the tube screamer doesn't sound good unless the amp is a little gritty.
I agree. I love that sound. You know,
you gotta have the amp a little gritty, because otherwise it sounds like a clean sound and a dirty sound mixed together.
Yeah. I hate that. Yeah. Like that blend.
Well, I knew that was it. So even in the days of, I had to ask that just because of what you were saying. Even the days of like me teching for Mike Landau and stuff. And in that era, Mike Landau, he was playing very much in the vein of that you play now. His amps were 7 and 8 on the volume knob, and it was deluxes or super reverbs or things like that, or occasionally a Marshall too. But the super bass Marshall occasionally that he would switch to, and it would basically annihilate the entire front row. Because it was 100 watt. It was 100 watt Marshall, and you'd watch their faces sort of peel back. But it was like a godly tone, because it was so big and so fat, and like you'd hear this thing happen, and you were just like, oh my god, that's so good.
And especially with him playing it. Yeah. Wow.
Oh yeah, he's an amazing guitar player.
Oh yeah,
he's from another world. Yeah, he's amazing.
He's a whole nother world. I mean, he's moved on from where he was right then in the early '90s to a more jazz sort of things these days. But in the early '90s, he was very much in the vein of what you do, and Stevie Ray did, and Jeff Healey did, and things like that.
Right. Wow.
And God, that was fun to watch every night.
I'll bet. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a treat.
It's so fun to watch every night.
Wow.
Bill L. Thanks for the super chat. Phil, one of the best live guitar tones I've heard was your gig at Maui Sugar Mill for New Year's Eve 2018. Can you talk about the rig you used back then? Was it the Diaz Moddage Dual Showman?
Wow, man. Well, thank you.
That's a specific gig.
Yeah, thanks for listening and thanks for caring. That was a really tough gig. My dad had just died, and that was a really hard show to play. And my mom was there, my wife was there. We were there as the first New Year's shortly after my dad had passed. So that was it was a heavy night. And I remember after my dad died, I had a really hard time singing for a while. I couldn't get up higher. The grief was so intense; it affected me in a physical way. And so I think we tuned down to D for that show, and that's like a whole step. And I was running a super reverb, and like my main super reverb I had forever, which is like a late '60s super. That Cesar Diaz worked on that one, but also Tommy Cougar did some work on that as well. And then I was running the Princeton, the Diaz Princeton with that. And that was a single 12. So it was the 410 with super reverb amp. And what I did was I pulled the super reverb chassis out and put it into a Bandmaster, late 60s Bandmaster head, so that I could carry the cabinet. It was just, with JBLs in that cabinet, you can't
it's heavy.
It's heavy, and you can't get the head in, right?
Yeah,
the magnets rub on the transformers. So I pulled it out, put it in a Bandmaster 69 Bandmaster head, and then put the reverb tank in the head, and then the Princeton was beside it. The Diaz was beside it. So yeah, but I think it was those two amps. Yeah.
Sorry about your dad. Apology.
Thanks, Mark. I appreciate that. Yeah. That was I'm still working through it, but it. Yeah.
No, I know. Trust me, I understand.
Happened. I lost my parents really young, so.
Oh, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, sucks.
Yeah. Oh.
It's a hole. It's
Yeah,
a hole in your life that you never get over.
You know, you get past it eventually, and it's all okay. And eventually,
It takes time. Yeah.
it takes time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fresh.
Yeah.
My uncle just passed too, so it's been pretty fresh.
Oh,
It's been
man.
passed like 3 months ago, and
Yeah.
he was like my second dad. So it's,
Oh, Mark, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, it's been tough. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
All right, let's on to better things.
He's with you, man. He's with you.
Yeah, absolutely. S. Everett, thank you for the super chat. Dave, can you tell me if Dean DeLeo uses his IntelliVerb effects in parallel via a mixer of some kind in his guitar?
No,
or is it?
It's in series. It's in series. It has an analog drive path in the IntelliVerb.
And he's still using that?
Oh yeah. In fact, he has a new rig that's really small that he uses a Fryette power amp and a single space Sin 2 preamp.
That's what I've heard.
Energy.
And he's using a modified
with a couple modules and then still the IntelliVerb. And it's like super easy to travel with for him. And
more rack, big rack.
Yeah. I just saw him recently in Jerry Cantrell's birthday party.
Oh, you went to that?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Every year that he actually has it. there was a bunch of years that with the pandemic that didn't happen, and then he was gone a year or two touring, so it was like not around his birthday. So yeah, he had it in October of this last year here.
Good.
It was super fun. Always the most interesting combination of people ever. It's a mixture of actors and like actors and musicians of every ilk, of every kind. You know, like you're gonna see like Steve Jones, you're gonna see Steve Perry, you're gonna see Joe Perry, not Joe Perry, you're gonna see Steven Tyler, you're gonna see like you never know what the mix is, and it's an interesting it's always an interesting time to watch the shenanigans that go on.
I know Nancy Wilson.
Yeah, she's been there. She's been there. I've been there when she's there.
Yep.
Doug Pinnick. Last time I saw Dean DeLeo there. First person I saw walking in was Dean DeLeo.
Oh, that's cool. That sounds like a fun party to go to.
Yeah.
It is a fun party for sure.
Yeah. Diamond Dave, what's going on? Thanks for the super chat. Great show tonight, guys. Been a fan of Phil since I saw a vid of him playing as the years go passing by back in 2010. Phil, can you talk about the In Revolution album a bit, collaborating with Richard Marx on writing?
Oh yeah. Well, hey, thanks for asking about it. Yeah, that was an album that I'd made. I'd been working with Melissa Etheridge in her band for about 4 years, and you know, we've been on tour and recording, and I feel like I learned so much from her. She was again a mentor to me and taught me a lot of things. And so I think coming out of that experience and then kind of going into the studio, my intention was to take some of the things that I'd learned, learning a lot of guitar parts from all the awesome players that she had worked with before I got there, guys like John Shanks and many others, and try to just kind of pepper some of those things in my own way, of course, but into that album. So it was definitely a very song-oriented album, and at the time, I had done some of the songs in there. Yeah, I wrote with Richard Marx. Richard's a friend and just phenomenally talented artist. One of my favorite songwriters, super gifted, and he can sing his ass off. It's crazy. And a really fun guy to be around. I feel like I learned a lot. And there were songs on there too that I wrote. Marty Fredrickson, another one of my favorite writers. And Marty's written with, tons of people. And I've known Marty for a really long time too. I met him when he was producing a Jeff Healey record, and he invited me to come to LA for my first time. And I stayed with him for 2 weeks, and we wrote a bunch of songs, and he taught me a lot. Marty's a great dude. And who else did I write with? Oh, I wrote with an amazing songwriter named Busby, who went on to have some hits with Rihanna and different people and many artists. And sadly, he passed away at a young age a number of years ago. But he was a massive talent, Busby. Holy shit, he was heavy. So yeah, and that was that record. It was very just sort of a transitional thing. And coming right out of making that record with a great producer named Jay Rustin, I went in and then started working with Dave Cobb. Yeah, Jay's amazing talent producer, and but then coming out of that, I started making some records with Dave Cobb. So who's also a phenomenal producer, and so it was sort of like a transitional album. I made an album called Peace Machine with Michael Nielsen, and then made this one, which is now it's not released anymore. It's not available anywhere, and then moved into working with Dave, and so it was sort of a real transitional time coming out of the Melissa thing. It was fun. It was like it was really a fun exercise to write with some of these cats and to just sort of learn some tricks of the trade in terms of songwriting and just good muscles to develop. It was a lot of fun. Thanks for asking about it.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. What was her name? Melissa Etheridge is great. When she first came out, I was really, really impressed with her. And really liked her.
I've been involved with her for years because I've been involved with John Shanks for years.
Yeah.
John was the pinnacle, the very first, not the very first guitar player, but that was so pivotal at her early success. Yeah, I remember that well.
I didn't know that John played with her.
Oh yeah, John played on the big album.
The big album, the first album.
Yeah. I don't know if the very first album. I'm not.
I forget the name of the album, of the first, whatever album it was, but yeah, the one that had a couple of hits on it.
I think. I can't say which album which was which but I know he had many albums that he worked with her on, and I don't know. I've been with John, around John for a long time.
Yeah.
John's a fascinating guy. He is an enigma. It's somehow in the guitar community he's everywhere. His imprint and his influence is everywhere. He's a really he's a big dude. It's like when I met John, I had no idea who he was, and it was such a weird. At the time, I just moved to Los Angeles with my wife Kelly, and we moved here from Toronto, and threw some shit in the car and drove across from Toronto to here, and here we are. And I went into, at the time I was working with an artist named Uncle Cracker. And he had a huge hit huge hits at the time. He did a remake of Drift Away by Dobie Gray. Yeah. And it was so that was a lot of fun. And we were off the road. I went into Westwood Music, and I was trying out some amps because all the backline would blow up. It would blow up a Twin every night. And so I was like, shit, I got to find something I can travel with. And I was playing one morning. I went in and was trying out, I think they were Mojave amps at the time, and they sounded really, really great. I was, trying them out, and they were cool. And okay. And this guy walks in, and he just walks over to me. It's 10:30 in the morning, and I was playing loud. It was Back to the Future. It was really loud and trying shit out, and no one else was there. John comes over and kind of goes, "Who are you?" And I was like, "I'm Philip. Who are you?" And he goes, "I'm John." I'm like, "Okay." And he was very, very direct, and I had no, and we talked for a second. He asked me about my guitar. He started adjusting the amp, and I'm like, "Bro, okay, nice to meet you." And
yeah.
but
I can picture this with John. I was going to say it sounds like John. I met him once, and
but he has a vision. He's so gifted that he knew what he was doing. He was helping. And he got right in, and I was like, wow, I like this guy. And he gave me his card, and he goes, "Yeah, come by my place later. I want to show you some stuff." But he said, "I've got some old guitars too." And then so he was at Henson of all places, and I looked at his card, John Shanks, A&R, Atlantic Records. I'm going, all right. So I go over to Henson. I come in. He was just as warm as can be. He was a great guy. We talked guitars for hours and amps. He had some Dumbles, and I was new in town still, and I didn't really know a lot of people. And so he said he was working on a Melissa record. He produced it, and he just said, Melissa needs a guitar player that can sing. You want to do it? And I was like, what? And so he said he really introduced me to Melissa. I just met him, and he was trying to find somebody, I guess, my understanding, because he was transitioning more into being this mega producer and writer that he is. And so he just said, I met a guy, and I think I found the guy. And I wasn't looking to be a side guy, but when Melissa Etheridge calls, I mean, shit, she's, in my opinion, she's one of the best rock and roll singers of all time, and many other people's opinions, and a hell of a guitar player. She's a real deal. And so, yeah, it's incredible. So I'm always think of John, and I have like a big smile. I'm so inspired.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome.
Great
For
player,
sure,
man.
great.
He's a killer player.
Yeah.
Yeah, he loves gear.
Oh, he loves gear. That's for sure.
He has all the gear. He knows all about all the gear. He's a phenomenal guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've known him before he was, I say this, I know him before he was famous.
Right? That's cool.
I mean, I remember him coming in with a client of mine who was introducing him to the world at that time, so to speak. And I remember doing a guitar rig for him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a good
Do you know
guy.
Oliver Lieber?
I do not know.
Do you know of him?
I know of him, but I don't know.
Oliver was the guy that sort of introduced John to the world, so to speak.
Really?
And got him his first publishing deal and stuff.
No
Because
shit.
Oliver had they did all the first Paula Abdul stuff and things like that, and his dad was Lieber and Stoller, who wrote like Hound Dog and things like that. So it was an interesting time. I remember when that all sort of happened, and I watched John over the years. Yeah, but John's good at what he does. He's a good producer.
He's phenomenal. Yeah, I remember being in the studio with him making a Melissa record. And his attention to detail was shocking. It was like, wow. And
yeah, that little part you played right there, that little thing. Well, you got to put a delay on that.
No, he's a gifted dude. He's a gifted dude.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Billy Justice Guitar, you're our last question for the night.
All right.
Philip, I'm 15 and play 6 to 8 hours a day and hang around local blues guys learning. What's the best advice for a guitar player trying to get to the next level?
Wow, man, that's awesome. Well, first and foremost, congratulations on finding your passion. That's the first thing. And I certainly, Dave and Mark, I think I'd love to hear your feedback on this too. And I feel like first thing is be nice to people. Introduce yourself and thank you. If someone allows you to sit in, thank you very much. Be grateful. I think if you really want to get deep into it, it's the music. This is outside of the creative spot. The creative part, as far as I'm concerned, is something that is the most important part of this. But there is a business side of this too that we have to be realistic. And that business is filled with some really good people and some sharks. And so it's very important to have somebody on your team that you can talk to before you ever sign anything. Even if someone says, oh man, you can trust me, just sign it. Don't worry about it. You got to have a lawyer that you know, or you talk to a parent, an aunt and uncle, somebody in your corner that you can bounce ideas off and get feedback from. Just be very careful. But I think ultimately protect the love in your heart and the respect for the music that you have. If you're playing 6 hours a day, you obviously have the fire. So, let that guide you. Let your heart and your soul and your gut guide you, and do it because you love it. Protect that love. Don't let the business side of things interfere with the truth that's inside of you. So yeah, just play what's in your heart always. Even if somebody else tells you that, trying to tell you what you should be or shouldn't be. If you know who you are, follow that, because that's the right thing, for the longevity. It's like if you want to be able to play, God willing, for the next 80 years or however long you plan on living, I think that it's really important to to really respect the gift that is music. It's the most incredible gift in this world, and music is something we can all share, and it's never a competition. And it's about expressing uniquely what is yours, the way you walk in this world, what you feel, what you see, what's important to you. Express that in your music always, and protect it. It's particularly from the business side, but yeah,
Awesome.
follow your heart always.
Awesome. Great
Yeah.
advice.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
really fantastic
great.
advice from somebody who knows full well about the industry and has been doing this for a really long time. So, yeah, thank you for your wisdom on that. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Awesome. And thank you, Philip, for joining us on the show. I mean, I want to thank you. It was fantastic to get to know you and have you on the show and talk about all things gear, guitar, and your career.
But I'm just, again, like, so thankful for the opportunity to hang with you guys. This is certainly some tone wizardry happening here. So it's
geek fest here.
I love it. I mean, I love it. And I think I'm probably not the only one that licks batteries around here to see which one.
Right. Yeah, no, that's very important. Yeah.
It's very important. So it's certainly a pleasure to sit at the table with you both. And I'm grateful I was able to join the party today. Thank you for having me. And thank you to Michael Nielsen for helping to make the introductions too, of course.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, and make sure you guys check out Philip Sayce's albums. His last album was Spirit Rising. He's got lots of material for you to check out if you haven't heard of it.
Yep.
So he's an amazing.
Check out his pickups.
Yeah, check out.
We got
Duncan.
We got some pickups here.
Yeah, man. There you go.
Thanks, guys.
The picture of that guitar is amazing.
That's
yeah.
I mean, it's just like beat beyond belief. You know. You got it. Come on, don't pull the phone down.
I know. I'm going to pull the phone down. The whole thing's going down. Yeah, this is this guitar I call Mother, and she's a 63 Stratocaster.
Just say that's relic is an understatement.
But I bought it. I'd been out with Jeff Healy for the first year, and I'd saved up, and I always wanted a 63. All my favorite players, and I remember hearing Chris Duarte talk about 63s, and so
good year.
Great year, and grateful to have it.
Wow.
Awesome, man. That's amazing.
That's killer.
Cool.
It's killer. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Philip. Pleasure to get to know you. Everybody have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy, stay safe. And our next show is next Friday night with Richie Kotzen. Looking forward to have Richie on the show. And enjoy the week. We'll see you soon.
Hang on, Philip.
And hang on. Yeah.
Yeah, we sign off.